be around Trend Micro user protection, and more specifically with the XGen endpoint security. So first off, what is XGen? Obviously it's a word that's going to be used quite a bit within this, and what it actually is, as an explanation, is it's a cross-generational blend of...
Hello, Gavin. We can't see your screen, just to stop you there. Sorry, bud.
No problem, mate. No problem. Let me just come back to that. Can you see my screen now?
Perfect, yeah. Thank you, mate.
Yeah, okay, no problem. So I'll go back to that. Sorry, guys, it said it was sharing on mine. So XGen is a cross-generational blend of threat defense techniques. What that means is, rather than using one feature as is what is classed as next gen, we are using that along with all of our techniques from the last 27 years that we've put together. And I'll go into a bit more detail later. Ultimately, what it means is that the right technique is used at the right time for the right type of threat. Sometimes even the next gen stuff can't catch everything, and that's why we put ourselves ahead of others, with the reason that we use that cross-generational blend of different techniques. And it's also powered by our global threat intelligence and smart detection network as well, which I will talk about in a bit more detail. So what are we seeing, right? So solving real customer problems. The IT dynamics, first of all, we've seen increasingly sophisticated threats coming out. Not only are we seeing threats that are hitting a low number of users because they're very specific, but they're threats that are going under the radar, that are malforming and changing themselves, very intelligent ways about how threats are coming in via social media and different means through email as well. So the threats are getting more and more sophisticated. As we all know, you only need to look at the media and you can see the various hacks and ransomware articles that are out there. There's also a huge shift to the cloud as well. So a lot of our customers, in fact pretty much all of them, have a conversation at some point with us around their move to the cloud, whether that's via Microsoft Azure, AWS, if they're using any other type of cloud service like Google Drive, Office 365. It absolutely is a shift, and that's what we're seeing, and even more so in the last 12 to 18 months as well. And of course, there's a change in user behavior. We're more, as users now, using mobile devices. We're more frequently changing locations of where we're working, and using things like tablets and mobile devices. So that change is constant as well. The main pains we have, obviously, for customers is recovering from high impact attacks. Once they've been hit, how do they actually react to that? Normally it's followed by some kind of fine, depending on what organisation or sector that company is in. The existing defences they have are often not very effective because they've been there for a while. They may not be have as much innovation as Trend Micro may have, and therefore they're not as effective as they would usually be. And obviously that complexity and lack of visibility as well, so people not being able to see exactly what is out there in their infrastructure. Trend Micro, XGen endpoint security, three main kind of key points I'm going to go over is around that maximum protection. How do we actually protect the users and our customers? That minimum impact as well is very, very key. And of course, we are that proven security partner, which I'll delve into in a bit as well. So first of all, that maximum protection around that I mentioned earlier, the cross-generational blend of threat defense techniques. Minimum impact, looking at central visibility and control as well, which ultimately gives a lower false positive and efficient threat defense as well. And that proven security partner, so 155 million endpoints protected and counting. We'll go into that in a bit more detail later. this is a saying that's been going around for quite a while, is that there is actually no silver bullet when it comes to protection in the security space. One of the other security vendors, someone mentioned quite a few years ago now, they mentioned the phrase that AV is dead. To an extent, AV on its own cannot survive. That's why you have to have multi-layered techniques. AV, for example, your traditional antivirus definition files is absolutely needed for those known viruses. But what do you do about the unknown? And that's when you have to use these different techniques. That's why there's not one tool that fits every single virus, every single piece of ransomware. You have to have that cross-generational blend. I'm not going to go through this entire slide. I'm just going to pick a couple of things out. The whole point of this is showing that every single technique against any type of threat, there is a pro and a con to it. So, for example, I just mentioned traditional AV. Very high performance. It can pick up everything it knows about. So every single virus that's been seen and blocked, we can have a massive catalog and back catalog of all that information. However, it would ultimately miss unknown threats that are not known about, that are brand new, because it has no way of defining what a threat is other than the signature file, which we know about. So we don't know how to protect the unknown. Picking out another one there, for example, web protection. Web protection blocks websites and malicious content on websites. However, it only works for the web, but it's great for stopping threats coming in via the web. So you can see every single technique has a pro and a con. So if you have a combination of techniques, you basically cancel out the negatives on the right hand side of that column. So in terms of Trend Micro, we've been around for 27 years and counting. And when I mentioned before around this cross-generational blend of techniques, this is exactly what I mean here, right? So Trend Micro started out on the far left-hand side of that arrow doing anti-malware, antivirus. The threats everyone knew about, we blocked, and that was what traditional AV used to be. However, as viruses and as threats became more and more sophisticated, new techniques were needed to catch them within action. So going through this, the most recent ones at the moment on the far top right hand side, you would see there, which is high fidelity machine learning, and that's what a lot of the next gen vendors are shouting about. They do machine learning, and that's pretty much all they do is that machine learning piece. From the previous slide where you had those pros and cons, machine learning is absolutely perfect for the latest threats, for the unknown threats that are coming in. However, it can cause high false positive rate, which is why we use these different techniques within there. Going back down that list again, I mean things like behavioral analysis, understanding what particular threats are doing within your infrastructure. So, for example, if you all of a sudden are seeing a DLL file starting to replicate itself and starting to send information elsewhere across the network, you know that is not a typical behavior of a DLL file. So we're using these different techniques across that way. Machine learning has evolved, and the milestones are around this kind of area here. So it started off in 2005. We actually brought it into our spam detection within email. That's when machine learning came into it. We then, in 2010, brought it into our web reputation, URL, and categorization, and then it became part of our of the social media scanning engine as well. So the reason I've highlighted machine learning here is because that is the one that everybody's talking about now. So when it comes to people talking about next gen and the endpoint, machine learning is absolutely the key one that everybody ever is mentioning. So all these techniques we then combined into that smart protection network, which I spoke about. I'll talk about a bit more in a minute as well. We then had the file-based detection, which is an amalgamation of all those techniques on the left-hand side, which then ultimately came into the endpoints in end of last year. So you can see that we've actually had machine learning around since 2005, and we've basically evolved that ourselves. for 12 years now we've been working with that. So even though my highlight here is the fact that people say about XGen, the next generation of security is machine learning, it's not actually that next generational because we've been using it since 2005. So yeah, that's kind of my highlight for that one. High fidelity machine learning. What actually is it? So there's two stages. The first one is pre-execution machine learning. So it basically looks at kind of static file features and will pick up files before they're actually executed on an endpoint. And then we then have runtime machine learning, which is the opposite to the pre-execution in the fact that it will look at threats as they are running on an endpoint. So the first kind of gate it would attempt a piece of malware or threat would attempt to get through would be that pre-execution phase, and you know the majority of them will be stopped there. But then if something gets through because it's unknown and it might be hidden within something else, we then look at it from a runtime perspective, and in that we're looking at things like behavior. We're looking at what's it trying to do, what is that piece of malware or ransomware trying to actually do within an endpoint or an infrastructure. So a little bit about the smart protection network. What actually is it? So our protection network, our smart protection network itself is it's pretty much the brain of Trend Micro. So everything every single piece of our technology that we have talks to the smart protection network. So for example, if you are a large enterprise customer with 5,000 users, you are talking to the protection network and you're getting information from there. If you are a home user with an addition of maximum security on your home PC, you are also part of that protection network. But ultimately what it means is that we can spread the information globally. So if anything is found, if something brand new is found on that home user, we can understand and see that brand new type of threat, and we can actually alert our enterprise users for that as well. So we have that kind of that breathing, growing database that we have. So within the smart protection network, we have there's over 100 terabytes of threats that are analyzed daily within there. We actually have over 500,000 threats on a daily basis, which is astronomical in terms of what you look at. If you go back, even to go back 2 years ago, it was something like 100 million in a year. And we're now looking at 500,000 in a day. So it's just crazy the volume that is actually out there in the world. We have 800 million files on that good file whitelist, and by that I mean we have a specific set of files when they're scanned through, when they're known about, if they're good. So for example, something that comes from Microsoft or the App Store, for example, would be classed as a good file and would be whitelisted from there. We also have hundreds of millions of sensors globally as well. So this is also things such as honeypots we have around the world. And what these honeypots actually do, they are collecting data. They're points where malicious outsiders are trying to gather information, and these honeypots are kind of set up around the globe as fake companies or fake data points, and hackers and ransomware and all sorts are trying to get into that. So that sensor is collecting that information. So it's more ways of us understanding that. We have a big team of researchers. We actually have nearly 1,500 people working with Detection Network. But 450 of those are kind of deep level researchers who will do things like looking on like the dark web and understanding the latest and greatest of the threats that are out there. And actually those researchers are the guys that will help write our code so we can stop against these new threats that are coming through as well. So again, that unique blend of techniques that I mentioned earlier. So if you're looking at the legend at the top, it differentiates between the white, black, and grey. So grey are the unknowns, white are what we know about, and black is what we don't know about, is what we know is bad. So think of this funnel as all threats that are coming into your infrastructure, coming into an endpoint or whatever way it may enter the infrastructure. What happens ultimately is we know about the good and we know about the bad. So we can straight away say, right, safe files, they're allowed because they're within that list of 800 million safe whitelisted files, and everything we know is bad goes to the right-hand side. We then get left with these grey ones which we don't know anything about. So what happens? We have the first level, which is called pre-execution machine learning, and what that does is it will look at these files, it will analyze them, and it will work out if they are malicious. So the first section it will do, it will take away a bunch of those and say, yeah, they're malicious. It will put them to good, or it may even send them through to the safe side as well. We then get a next layer which comes in, which then looks at the behavior of those files. So this is just before it starts to do the runtime. We start to see, right, are these files we don't know about, are they doing things they shouldn't be doing? And that's another layer of our protection within there. And then they'll do a runtime machine learning. So they actually run in. If they're good or bad, again, they get put to either pile. Adding into this as well, this is not just the last layer. This isn't just all we do. So from this point, if you wished, you could actually even if they are listed as good or bad, even those good ones, if you're not 100% sure about them, you can offload them to a sandbox as well and get them further analyzed as well. So we have sandbox technology in another suite of ours, which is linked into the user protection piece. And this is kind of what's seen when we see that threat, right? So I'm not going to go through this because it's very you go into some details. But first of all, we're seeing sort of high-level information. Where's it come from? What is it? What type of file it is? When was it opened? Who had it? What's within there? What identifiers have we seen before? So things like, is it creating a file? Is it mapping a drive? Is it trying to open up a port somewhere? We then look at other similar types of ransomware that we've seen that may have similar identifiers to it. And then ultimately we give it a threat probability. So this one, for example, is a 95% probability. And security. So I've mentioned one feature. That's machine learning. Okay, we have that's what XGen renders do. Is not even all of that what I just mentioned, but that's the machine learning piece. But user protection from Trend Micro is actually a lot more than just that machine learning piece. So I mentioned that Arrow had all the different techniques which we use. So if we're looking at the smart protection, we're also looking at device control. So you're looking at how to stop USB devices with potential viruses on there. And also if people are actually looking to remove important information. So we start going on to DLP conversation as well. And that's via a USB device, that's via email or file shares as well. And then we also have within there is encryption. So we can do full disk encryption, we can encrypt removable media. So you can start to see where we're branching out with this here. Go to the complete suite, we're then looking at things such as email and gateway servers, Office 365 protection, cloud file sharing, so things like Dropbox and Google Drive and those great technologies that everybody is using more and more. I mentioned right at the start about users changing their behavior, right? Office 365 and cloud file sharing is a brilliant example of that. It's become a point where we have to use it. I use it on a daily basis. I use Dropbox on a daily basis, and we have to make sure that information is protected within there. Ultimately, this all leads into central management as well. So we have a centralized console where you can see full visibility of our solutions. So whether you're using XGen endpoint protection, or if you're using other solutions from Trend Micro, such as our deep security, which is around servers, or using deep discovery, which is around another network layer of protection, we have a single pane of glass, which is Trend Micro Control Manager. Within there, you can see a cross correlation of threats that are coming from wherever they're coming from the endpoint, if they're coming from servers, from the network, from email, you can cross-correlate and you can actually have these solutions talking to each other. And when we talk about other security vendors, this is where we have our differentiator. This is the differentiator. This is where Trend Micro is absolutely unique. I worked with other security vendors in the past, and none of them had this level of centralized visibility within an infrastructure. It's absolutely key for security teams within customers to understand exactly what's going on. And now more than ever, especially when you look at things around GDPR with the general data protection regulations coming in place, customers are now going to have to really understand, have full visibility of their infrastructure, what's going on within their infrastructure. So yeah, so in total, that's where we branch out even further from there. So Trend Micro as well, with our kind of approach to security. So first and foremost, we look to protect that user. We look to protect the customers and the enterprises, and that is through our multitude of techniques that we have within it. Ultimately, though, protection is never quite enough. It's something. You can have multi-layers and multi-layers of security, but there's always going to be a way that somebody will eventually potentially breach a network with a threat. And it comes down to the fact around that those unknown and known viruses. So a lot of people would have the viewpoint that, well, I have AV, I'm protected, I shouldn't be breached. Well, ultimately, as I mentioned, AV will prevent one type of threat getting in, but there may be a brand new type of threat around the corner we don't know about. So protection is one area. The next area obviously is that detection piece. So if a customer does get breached, how do we detect it? How do we understand what's going on? And again, this is wrapped around areas such as behavioral analysis. I mentioned before behavioral analysis, looking at files, what files are doing within an endpoint, within an infrastructure. That's how you detect stuff. You detect things by actions that aren't the norm within an infrastructure. And then once that detection has happened, how do we respond to it? How do we remediate and make sure that those threats are wiped out? So we have a huge support back end at Trend Micro. We have a massive operations centre over in Cork in Ireland, but we have them SOCs scattered across the globe. But ultimately, we made a decision a couple of years ago that with our support structure, that we would give every single customer 24/7 support. It used to be 9 to 5, so every customer now gets 24/7, no matter what solution that you have. We then have another level which is called premium support, which actually links in, you get an assigned a technical guy that actually is assigned to you, but that's obviously a more expensive kind of model. But the point is that we have this infrastructure at the back end. We take support, we take our detection and response absolutely seriously at Trend Micro. And that's hence why, when I go in a bit more detail later, why the critics have kind of put us in the leadership side of things. And then I mentioned as well that visibility and control in the center. All those three areas there, they have to understand that you have to understand that everything fits into that visibility console within there. Central visibility automation is key. I mentioned this a few times. In terms of minimal impact, we've made a huge point of making sure that our solutions have a low footprint, and that the solutions actually don't affect the end users. There's a lot of times, you've always heard of customers that complain about the antivirus on the machine, that's slowing the machine down. Those days have kind of gone now, because it's making sure that users still have full functionality while still being fully protected. The central console, the single console across endpoints and gateways, it's great, right? You can look at everything from your endpoints that are on-prem or endpoints in the cloud and things like AWS and Azure. You can cross-reference threats that are coming in, and those dashboards as well are great for a very quick view to see exactly what's happening. You can have prioritized views and alerts across the environment as well. This is just scroll down so you can see in here, not just looking at what threats coming in, who's been hit, but where did it come from? What was the IP address that threat came in from? What have we seen similar to this in the past? Is this normal activity? Is it lots of different data points that are collecting and bringing you this information? It gives you that full control, full understanding of what exactly is happening within the infrastructure. We have user-based visibility as well on the investigation side of things, so we can actually delve right into individual users to understand exactly what they've got. So, for example, this one here, this chap by the name of David Chang, we know here within this infrastructure on this screenshot that he has a PC, a laptop, an Android. He has an email account. Quick. So you can understand that we can cross-reference all of his data points that he's using within the infrastructure, and then ultimately all the threats that he may have seen within all of those devices. So it's completely that centralized control. The proven security partner. So first one I want to kind of show you is the Forrester Wave. So the Forrester Wave has put us top right. The latest one hasn't come out yet for this year, but you can see there in terms of our competitors where we stand within that, and it's quite telling to kind of see where we are, considering where we've grown from as well. So we never used to be that high up. But we obviously are now. Now, it's not just a one-off. We've also got Gartner. So this is the latest one as of January this year. So this is the second year in a row we've been on that leader. We've actually been in the leader quadrant for about 9 years, I believe we've been in there for. But what's really key about this is, and I know that Gartner isn't the be-all and end-all. I understand that. However, what Gartner actually does here is that the endpoint protection platforms is not just a laptop. This endpoint protection platform quadrant actually covers laptops, servers, cloud environments as well, and email as well. So this is showing you that as a whole solution, Trend Micro is absolutely someone to be very serious about. And the fact is that we have actually we've spent a lot of time with Gartner to make sure they understand our capabilities fully, which is why we've gone that far right and up as well, because it's very important to be in that top right, just to show you in terms of where we lie within the rest of the field. So a few firsts there as well. Trend Micro is not been the greatest at shouting about what they've done in the past. We're a company around innovation. We're the first one to integrate with things like the cloud environment. So no other security vendor was there before we were in terms of how we work directly with AWS and Azure. The integration we have with the VMware and the latest NSX platform as well. It literally is just proving exactly where we are as that security partner. So just to kind of recap within that again, so endpoint security is around maximum detection, that cross-generational blend of techniques, minimum impact, centralized visibility, having customers understand exactly what they have within the infrastructure, what threats are in there, and of course that proven security partner, which I don't need to talk too much about anymore, but we're up there for a reason. We have absolute world-class technology that is above and beyond anything I've seen at other security vendors in my career, and it's very much a case that we welcome customers and partners to want to know TrendMarker, to actually want to understand it. So yeah, by all means, you can reach out to myself or United to get a fuller, deeper understanding of what we actually offer. Because this is just one element, okay? So this is the user protection piece. We also have network defense, and we have hybrid cloud security, which is a completely different topic, but they link in as well. Obviously, today I focus on the user protection piece.